Oh, Ice Pick Lodge. If you're not familiar with this company, they made Pathologic, also known as Utopia. Back, it's probably been more than 10 years now. Russian company, very cult game, mostly because it was extremely bleak, grueling, and miserable, and a lot of people liked it. Same thing with their next game, The Void, also known as Tension, also known as Turger, if that's how you pronounce it. Which, pretty much like an entire game about death, afterlife, that kind of stuff. So, again, incredibly bleak, surreal, and obtuse. That's just what they go for. I mean, probably the best definition is that first line you see. What you see before you is not exactly what one would call a game, which I tend to agree. It's more like an interactive meditation, reenacted from scattered evidence that happened to fall into our hands. No, come back! It was built according to instructions left by the original Archive's anonymous donor. Many strange things and unclear moments you will encounter in this, whatever it is, are due to the requirements outlined in the Archive. Yeah, sure. Maybe it was just a mysterious hoax, but it probably wasn't. We suggest you view it as just another urban legend. Isn't that contradictory? Oh well. We recommend you play this game in a dark and quiet place, alone. Definitely heard that one before. There's something about isolation, vulnerability, and just a general fear of the unknown. It's one heck of a powerful effect. Well, hey, if you're looking for that experience, this is a game for you. So here we are. We are this guy. Somewhat of an odd fellow. You've seen all the background we have so far about who he is, so I guess we live alone in this house in nowhere in particular, as far as we can tell right now. Seems we're not having the best of times, although at this point our main goal is just to figure out what the frick was knocking so much at the front door. You know, I don't think the Mormons come all the way out here. Doesn't seem we're terribly right in the head. For whatever reason, whether it's exhaustion, excuse me, or something else. I guess we haven't really solved that knocking yet either. Definitely looks like some sort of scientist. I don't know about you, but I don't really have notebooks, sketches, laboratory type stations. So this is really just time to get a feel for the house, I suppose. Yeah, just plenty of odd stuff. I swear, who's there? For these sections, basically, you need to find this clock first, and then everything progresses. Well, that's creepy enough. This house, or maybe just him, does a lot of creepy stuff. Thankfully, we're right here. It's your funeral. These trees are very inviting. Don't worry, it pretty much just all looks like this. Well, this could be worse. So this is the outside. There's not a terribly large amount of stuff here. Essentially, it is a giant circle. Regardless of what direction you walk, you're going to get back to the start. You can't really get lost, and whether that's just because he knows the way or we're kind of stuck in some sort of loop, that's up to you. But what you can do is basically move up and down between 4 different sections. So you can see the house back there, that was back there, and it is... there we are. Seems to disappear quite immediately. At this point in the game, there isn't going to be too much trouble generally. I mean, you do have to kind of get used to stuff first, like the setup, obviously. Most of the controls are just basically going to be turning on and off lights, opening up doors, and, you know, moving time forward, because there's something going on. Can't really say we figured out how to time travel yet, but at least we feel like we can. It's also a good time to get used to his babble speak, which is somehow coherent, and at the same time... What? Oh, wow. Well, that's true, I did go up 4. Just kind of came out of nowhere, though. It's basically just 4 rows that circle the house. Anyway, as I was saying, I suppose this guy doesn't really have a need for spoken language too much, considering that we haven't seen another human being yet, and I don't really expect one to show up anytime soon. Anyway, just as a quick note to you, we're out here looking for something other than the trees. You'll know it when you see it, because it's hard to explain. It does at least seem like time has stopped for this section. Whether that's purposeful or definitely purposeful. I don't know if that's just a game mechanic or something that's legitimately happening at this point. Honestly, that's probably a pretty good segue to tell you a little bit about how this game is set up. So, I like to think that the main theme for this game is what is real. And it is incredibly hard to tell. And truly, there really isn't a good answer to it. So, it's that kind of experience. Which, if you like it, great. If not, I'm not going to be able to explain the real answer. So, yep. So basically, there are going to be two different states that we play this game in. And at least for the time being, let's just call them 1 and 2. Right now, we're in 1, where basically what happens is you wake up, you go find the clock, you go outside, and you look for what's ever in the woods. It's a pretty safe existence. For now. And this varies in length by a lot. If you find what you're looking for immediately, great. That can happen. Or this can happen. And we can just kind of be stuck here for a while. There's something toying with me out here. I can hear... It sounds like a singer or something, and yet... And yet... So what's going to happen after this? Well, it's going to be a lot of the work that you kind of saw the beginnings to already, where you turn on lights, where you open up doors, where you try to get your bearings in this house that is not particularly well set up for sanity, essentially. Now, at this point, I know what you might possibly be thinking. How was I supposed to figure any of this out? And the answer is you weren't. There you are. Well, hey now! Don't play like that. I finally found you out here, and now you've just decided to leave? So it turns out there's this mysterious little girl that's just out here in the wood. There you are! Come on. These are fragments that you collect to get the good ending in this game. Why? Obviously, I can't interpret that to mean anything whatsoever. For someone who appears to be some kind of scientist and definitely trying to learn more about how the world works, you are definitely doing a good job at ignoring parts that you don't like. I mean, obviously that's what that weird fragment that we got seems to be a part of. I mean, most people don't do calculus for fun. It's to try to figure something out, although it just looked like a jumbled mess. I'm not sure there's a better way to explain this game than basically that last fragment we saw. So yeah, we're just kind of stuck not knowing anything. And you just kind of have to force your way through. If something works, great. If it doesn't, too bad. You kind of have to redo it. And there's nothing really to tell you what works and what doesn't. And I guess that's just the reality of this guy's situation. We don't know anything about how to get this guy out of the position he's in, or even what position we should be heading towards. And that's You're gonna find that out a lot in this game, is that just you want there to be direction, and there's no direction. Up is down, left is right. Actually, that's pretty accurate right now. But all I can say is that we've done what we need to. Not that you'd know, but we have. So I'm going to try to head back to the house and get to phase 2. I'm not particularly sure if there's a best way to go looking around this forest. I mean, obviously you have 4 layers to try to sift through. If you're able to check all 4 at the same time, fantastic. I gotta admit, just kind of heading straight and just picking one direction and going with it probably isn't the best way, but it's so hard to not do. Except eventually you're able to get back here. Welcome to your giant flowchart inside this guy's head. So yeah, I guess we're in this guy's head. Delightful. Now we can't tell what is real and what's not. If you really think that all those events was the sleep world, you're going to love this part. Space is going to be the key that you pretty much just use to do everything. Make sure that you hold it down all the way though, because I have definitely... screwed that up sometimes, but... At one of these points, we'll get to another mechanic that this game has. You have a funny way of explaining facts, but I can see what you're talking about. If you know where everything is, then you can't really be surprised. So at some points, he's just going to close his eyes. And then, literally, this room starts filling up with objects. Space always turns on and off the light. Sometimes you'll get an opportunity when you have seeing an object behind you that is outlined. You can hide behind it, which we'll get to eventually. Rooms will start flashing at you. This is kind of annoying. I imagine it's working because the clock's moving faster. I guess we have another theme already, which was definitely plenty obvious. This idea of light versus darkness. Yeah, it's hard to tell whether light actually lets us see anything better, in air quotes. One thing you might notice is that we kind of just ended up in this room out of nowhere after the last sequence, and for whatever reason, the layout of the house has changed.
I'm right here. Do not.
Oh, crud, I hear people. Yeah, the flashing rooms have monsters in them, by the way, so there are plenty of odd drawings in this house, too. I'm not sure how some got up on the ceiling in this one. Oh, frick!
And now it is inside.
I'm screwed. Well, there you go. You're fighting that, which has some very impersonal qualities. It has no face, but it still sounds like a girl? Well, those are the monsters. What they do is basically take away your time. The more that you run into, the longer you have to survive. You can basically turn on the lights at any point in a room, so I know that the... Ooh. I'm still trying to figure out what kind of science he's doing. You want to try? This basically means there's a breach, as you can kind of see. I have a feeling you're starting to confuse what you really want. So anyway, the light still makes those things go away. We'll definitely add some time to our day here, but I at least recognize some of these rooms from before, but I'm not 100% sure where everything was situated. A new clock to deal with. Uh-oh. And I believe at least some of the objects we saw before. There you go. Looks like we made it through segment 1. Hide and seek in the dark. This is a test of courage, so you shouldn't really hide when you play. Try to play fair and wait for the game to end. That's unique. If the seeker sees that someone is hiding, everything will start from the beginning again. The key is you have to guess how the seeker interprets the game. So if he says to someone, "You're hiding," but that person is standing in the open, then it is not about being seen or not. Well, that's great. So this isn't necessarily a game of hiding to not be seen, but hiding from what? The real world? Ourselves? Some other entity? I guess we'll see. Nevertheless, we progress back to this bed.